Whenever I ran out of money, I would head straight to the lottery shop like it was my personal ATM, because unlike normal people, I could actually talk to anything around me. The moment I stepped inside the store, I looked at the pile of scratch cards on the counter and casually asked, "All right, brothers, which one of you has the prize money? Say something." The shop owner immediately stared at me like I was insane. But before he could react, the scratch cards suddenly became noisy in my head. "Brothers, come out already. There's a handsome guy here asking if we've got prizes." One card immediately shouted, "Don't look at me, I don't have anything." Another one quickly yelled, "I do! Buy me and you'll win 20. I frowned and muttered, "That's still not even a profit." Then another card hurriedly said, "Buy me! I've got 50 hidden inside." I scratched my head and sighed. "I spent 30 just getting here in a taxi. Don't any of you have something bigger?" The owner looked at me strangely and whispered under his breath, "Is this kid mentally ill or something?" I couldn't help laughing bitterly inside. Has the world already forgotten my legend? Then another scratch card proudly shouted, "That's right, I'm the one with 200 yen." I nodded in satisfaction. "Not bad. At least tonight's barbecue is secured." I immediately asked, "Which one are you?" And the card answered proudly, "The 31st one." The owner finally got impatient and shouted, "Kid, what are you mumbling about over there? Are you buying or not?" I quickly nodded. Even though 200 yuan wasn't much, it was still free money. "Give me the 31st card from this stack." The owner glanced at me with obvious contempt, clearly thinking I was pretending to be mysterious, but he still followed my instructions and pulled out the exact card. The moment I scratched it open, I grinned. Heh, 200. The owner instantly leaned over in shock. "No way, let me see that. This kid keeps acting crazy. Does this actually work?" I shrugged casually and said, "It's only 200, barely enough for barbecue." Then I looked at him again and asked, "Boss, do you have any bigger prizes here?" He sneered immediately. "Of course. Our scratch cards can win up to 1 million yuan, but you seriously think you can hit that?" The moment he said that, the scratch cards inside the counter exploded into chaos. "Scratch me! Scratch me! I don't have a prize." Another card instantly cursed, "Then why the hell are you shouting?" The first card replied shamelessly, "I just want to experience being scratched, okay?" Then another card suddenly whispered seductively, "Heh, I've got 1,000 yuan hidden inside. Want it? I'm the 28th card." I laughed coldly. "Trash." The card immediately exploded in anger. "What did you just say? You calling me trash?" I calmly replied, "Sorry, I wasn't talking about you specifically. I meant everyone here is trash." The entire pile of scratch cards instantly lost their minds and started yelling at me all at once. "Who the hell do you think you are acting so arrogant? Yeah, if you're so capable, prove it." Then suddenly a deep and prideful voice echoed through all the noise. You bunch of rookies. I am the only scratch card here worth 1 million yuan. Originally, I just wanted to quietly watch all of you pretend to be impressive, but you're all useless. I can't stand it anymore. Scratch me. I'm the 88th card." My eyes widened instantly. Holy crap. Big brother, you're amazing. I never expected this tiny lottery shop to actually have a million yuan prize hidden inside. I almost started laughing from excitement. I immediately pointed at the stack and said, "Boss, give me the 88th card." The owner froze when he heard me accurately call out another exact number. He looked completely confused. "Wait, can this kid seriously talk to scratch cards?" "No, impossible. He's just lucky." Still, he followed my instructions and handed me the card. The moment I scratched it open, I smiled. Well, nothing left to doubt now, right? The owner grabbed the ticket and checked it himself, and the next second his entire body froze. Holy shit! Red Fortune Heavenly Prize, 1 million yuan. His face turned pale instantly. I work myself to death running this shop and only make a few hundred a day, and this kid earned 1 million in less than 3 minutes. I casually stretched and said, "All right, boss, I'm done playing. Pay up." The owner's face was filled with jealousy and pain as he reluctantly pulled out 200 yuan from the register and handed it to me. "Here's the 200. As for the 1 million, you'll have to claim that at the central station." I already knew a small shop couldn't cash out a jackpot like that, so I simply took the money and turned around to leave. But suddenly the owner stopped me. "Wait a second, kid. You still haven't paid for the scratch cards. 40 yuan total. You bought 2 cards." Without even turning around, I casually replied, "4th row, 21st card, keep the extra as a gift." The owner immediately froze again. "No way. Seriously?" Right after leaving the shop, I noticed a man standing nearby with a porcelain plate in front of him. Curious, I walked over and asked, "Hey, how much are you selling this plate for?" The man instantly became cautious and said, "Careful with that. This is Song Dynasty blue and white porcelain. Someone offered me 200,000 yuan for it a few days ago, and I still refused. If you want it, 30,000 and it's yours." I narrowed my eyes slightly and stared at the plate before asking calmly, "Brother, Are you really Song Dynasty blue and white porcelain? The moment I asked that plate whether it was really Song Dynasty blue and white porcelain, the thing immediately screamed in panic. What? Song Dynasty porcelain? I was manufactured just last week. I'm worth 5 yuan at most. Kid, hurry up and put me down. I'm scared of heights. I almost burst out laughing on the spot. Damn. This guy is selling a 5 yuan plate for 300,000? This boss is ruthless. The surrounding antiques instantly became noisy in my head as well. Handsome guy, I'm worth 50. I'm worth 100. I'm worth 80,000. I'm worth 3 yuan and 50 cents. My expression changed immediately. Wait, I just heard 80,000. Who said that? A weak-old voice quickly answered, Me! Me! Young man, can you buy me? I looked around in confusion until the voice continued pitifully. I'm almost 80 years old already, but every day I still have to stay crushed underneath all these fake antiques. My old bones are practically falling apart. I finally realized the voice was coming from the newspaper underneath the plate, and I was instantly stunned. No way. This newspaper is almost 80 years old and worth 80,000. I immediately looked at the stall owner and said calmly, Boss, there's something wrong with this so-called Song Dynasty porcelain. The shape is average, the lines are stiff, and there are obvious artificial marks everywhere. This thing was freshly manufactured, wasn't it? The owner froze for a second before forcing out an awkward smile. Wow, handsome guy, I didn't expect you to actually know antiques. Since that's the case, why don't you make an offer? If the price is right, I'll sell it to you. I casually replied, 300, I'll transfer the money now. The owner's eyes widened. Huh. Even I almost laughed when he looked so shocked. Boss, aren't you at least gonna think about it? But the man immediately changed his tone and shamelessly said, Handsome guy, I can tell we're destined friends, so I'm selling it cheap to you. If it were someone else, I wouldn't even consider anything below 300,000. I almost rolled my eyes. What's there to think about? This thing was bought from Yiwu yesterday for 5 yuan. Then I pointed toward the newspaper underneath and added, Boss, wrap the plate with that newspaper for me. Don't damage it. I'll transfer the money right now. But the owner immediately shook his head. Using the newspaper? That won't work. You'll need to pay extra. He crossed his arms proudly and continued, Everything on my stall is a treasure. Even though that newspaper is old and I only use it to pad items, it's still valuable. If you want it, add this much. I stared at him in disbelief. No way. Does this guy actually know the newspaper's value? Then I asked carefully, Boss, for one old newspaper, you want 8 yuan? The owner instantly looked offended. 8 yuan? I said 80. Normally, I sell that kind of thing for at least 500. I couldn't hold back anymore and blurted out, Boss, it's just a broken newspaper and you want 80? Are you a lion or something? The man looked genuinely confused. Are lions even part of the Chinese zodiac? Why don't I know that? I sighed helplessly. Exactly, there aren't any lions. I waved my hand impatiently and said, Forget it, boss. I'm not wasting more time arguing. 308 total for the plate and newspaper. If you agree, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll go somewhere else. The owner secretly grinned inside. This newspaper was something I randomly picked up to wrap things with anyway. Any amount I get is pure profit. He immediately nodded and said, all right. 308 it is. Kid, you're way too clever. The people nearby were completely stunned. Holy crap. Bargaining from 300,000 down to 300? Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Another person immediately said, What are you talking about? Since when does real Song Dynasty porcelain sell for 300? That owner was obviously trying to scam beginners. After leaving the antique stall, I soon arrived at another shop and asked, Boss, do you buy antiques? The man inside nodded immediately. Of course. Little brother, did you happen to find some treasure? I recognized him instantly. He was clearly wealthy and was the owner of the Treasure Pavilion. I smiled calmly and said, Boss Jung, I really did find something interesting, so I wanted you to help me appraise it. The moment I entered, I casually tossed the fake porcelain plate aside. Boss Jung's eyes widened in panic. Whoa! Careful, little brother, weren't you asking me to appraise a treasure? Why'd you throw it away? I shrugged indifferently. Oh, that thing's just a fake, not worth much. Boss Jung immediately looked confused. Then, where's the treasure you were talking about? I pointed directly at the table and replied, Right there. He stared blankly at the newspaper for several seconds before asking uncertainly, Little brother, are you sure this newspaper is the treasure? I nodded calmly. Don't underestimate it. This is the very first issue of Guangming Daily. Boss Jung frowned slightly and admitted, I'm honestly not too knowledgeable about newspapers, but I do have an old friend who loves collecting books, paintings, and old papers. I'll ask whether he's interested. He immediately picked up the phone and called out, Hello, Oldly. I've got the first issue of Guangming Daily here. Interested in taking a look? The person on the other end instantly became excited, and Boss Jung quickly said, "All right, hurry over then." Not long after, an elderly man rushed into the shop impatiently. "Old Jeng, where's the newspaper you mentioned? Hurry and show me." Boss Jung pointed toward me and said, "It's right here. Come, let me introduce you. This is Old Lee. He specializes in collecting calligraphy, paintings, and newspapers. If he appraises it, there definitely won't be any mistakes." Old Lee immediately stepped forward excitedly. "Quick, let me see it." The moment he opened the newspaper, his entire body trembled. "My God, this really is the first issue of Guangming Daily?" His voice became emotional as he carefully touched the paper. "I never imagined something like this could still be preserved in such perfect condition. This is wonderful, absolutely wonderful." Then he looked straight at me and asked seriously, "Little brother, would you be willing to part with this newspaper?" Seeing how interested he was, I smiled calmly and replied, "Looks like Elder Lee really likes this newspaper. In that case, why don't you offer a price first? If it's suitable, I'll sell it to you." The moment Elder Lee offered 10,000, I almost thought I heard him wrong. 10,000? I looked at him calmly and shook my head. Looks like Elder Lee doesn't truly want this newspaper after all. Forget it then. The old man panicked immediately and waved both hands. "No, no, no, little brother, don't rush. 80,000. How about 80,000? He quickly explained, "Even though this is the first issue, the price I'm offering is already very high." I stayed silent for a moment, and Elder Lee started getting nervous again. "Still not enough? Then 100,000. That's already the absolute highest price I can offer." The moment I heard that, I nearly lost control of my expression. Holy crap, that's already higher than the newspaper itself said it was worth. I was almost ready to agree earlier too. Good thing I waited a little longer. I immediately nodded and smiled. Deal. Elder Lee finally relaxed and asked warmly, "Little brother, what's your name? If you ever find treasures like this again, make sure to contact me. We can always discuss the price." I replied politely, "My name is Ye Shisan. You can just call me Xiao Ye." Elder Lee nodded with admiration. "Xiao Ye, was this newspaper passed down through your family? It's preserved unbelievably well." I casually answered, "No, I just bought it from a nearby stall." Both Elder Lee and Boss Jung froze instantly. "May I ask, how much did you spend?" I calmly held up a few fingers. 8 yuan. "What? 8 yuan?" The two of them nearly shouted together. "That's over 10,000 times the value." Boss Jung looked at me like he was staring at a monster. "Xiao Ye, this is absolutely the steal of a lifetime." Then his expression suddenly became respectful. "No, wait, not Xiao Ye. Boss Ye. If you find good items again in the future, remember our treasure pavilion." I smiled lightly. "No problem. I'll keep looking around nearby first." After leaving the shop, I continued wandering through the antique market when suddenly another voice entered my head. "Kid, what are you staring at? Don't look down on me just because I'm a fake Imperial Decree manufactured last month. I may look fake, but I'm actually over 300 years old and worth at least 10 million. I froze instantly. What the hell is going on? I stared at the so-called Imperial Decree in disbelief. A fake Imperial Decree produced in 2026, worth 10 million? Before I could think further, the stall owner impatiently snapped at me. "Kid, you've been staring forever. Are you buying or not? If not, move aside and stop affecting my business." I quickly waved my hand. Buying. I never said I wasn't." Then I pointed toward the Imperial Decree. "Boss, how much is this?" The owner immediately straightened his posture proudly. "What are you talking about? This is a Kangxi Emperor Imperial Decree." I laughed faintly and interrupted him. "Boss, stop trying to fool me. You know exactly what this thing really is." The owner paused for a second before awkwardly chuckling. "Yo, looks like the young man actually knows antiques. Fine then, I won't scam you. This item has been sitting here for a long time anyway. If you want it, 10,000 and you can take it." I almost choked. "What? Boss, you want to sell a fake for 10,000? Someone nearby immediately whispered, "Brother, this owner is obviously trying to scam you." But the stall owner instantly waved him off impatiently. "Go away. If you don't understand antiques, then stop talking nonsense." Then he looked at me again and said coldly, "Kid, are you buying or not? If not, put it down already. Don't dirty my treasure." I narrowed my eyes slightly. Judging from the owner's tone, bargaining was impossible now. But since the Imperial Decree itself claimed it was several hundred years old, there was a chance it truly came from the Kangxi era. After thinking for a moment, I nodded. "Fine, boss. I'll take it." I immediately transferred the money. Right after I bought it, a mocking voice suddenly sounded nearby. "Yo, whose rich young master is this? Spending 10,000 on something like that?" I turned around and saw a smug-looking man staring at me with amusement. I frowned slightly. "What do you mean by that? You think this Imperial Decree is fake?" The man laughed loudly. Isn't it obvious? This kind of low-level fake can only fool amateurs like you who know nothing. I smiled faintly. Oh, sounds like this brother really understands antiques. He proudly raised his chin. Of course. Then I calmly asked, in that case, do you dare compete with me? Before he could answer, the stall owner suddenly frowned. Xiang Guochang, why are you everywhere? This brother is obviously a newcomer. Why force him into competing with you? But the man named Xiang Guochang only sneered. What's wrong? Too scared to compete. Brother, you're way too cowardly. I chuckled softly. Since you want to compete, then I'll gladly accompany you. His eyes narrowed instantly. Fine. How do you want to do this? He pointed directly at the Imperial Decree in my hands and said confidently, let's bet on that decree. Its value definitely doesn't exceed 100,000. If it does, I'll pay you 10 times its value. I almost laughed inside. This thing is worth 10 million according to itself. 10 times that is exactly one small goal. Sounds reasonable. But before I could speak, someone nearby hurriedly tried to stop me. Little brother, don't pay attention to him. He's obviously trying to scam you with an empty-handed gamble. I ignored the warning and smiled directly at Xiang Guochang. Sure, let's do it your way. But so people don't say I'm bullying you, let's lower the standard a bit. As long as this Imperial Decree is worth more than 1 million, I win. The crowd instantly exploded. Holy crap! The moment I raised the bet to 1 million, the stall owner's face instantly changed. No way! Could this thing actually be real treasure? Impossible. I remember buying it for 10 yuan myself. Don't tell me I actually missed something valuable. Xiang Guochang, however, only sneered confidently. Yo, brother, you sure talk big, but for fairness, let's take this somewhere proper for inspection. Better yet, let's invite a few more experts so they can publicly slap your face. I smiled calmly. Fine by me. Someone nearby immediately pointed ahead. There's a treasure pavilion right there. Let's go now. The moment I walked into the shop again, Boss Zheng immediately greeted me warmly. Boss Ye is back already? Found another good item? I nodded slightly. Boss Zheng, I really did find another treasure this time. I'll need your help taking a look. The moment he saw the Imperial Decree in my hand, his expression changed slightly. An Imperial Decree? Just then, another old man inside the shop glanced over and smiled. You all came at the perfect time. Elder Guo happens to specialize in this field. I immediately nodded politely. Then I'll trouble Elder Guo to appraise it. But before Elder Guo could even start, Xiang Guochang suddenly laughed mockingly. Honestly, I think you're all wasting your time looking at such an obvious fake. Then he looked straight at me and sneered, Brother, your 10,000 yuan definitely went down the drain. I only smiled faintly. You seem very confident. Elder Guo calmly interrupted us. No rush. Open it first and let me examine it. After carefully observing the Imperial Decree for a while, he frowned slightly. Someone nearby immediately asked nervously, It does look pretty old, but judging from your expression, Elder Guo, is there a problem with it? Xiang Guochang immediately crossed his arms proudly and said loudly, You people don't believe me, huh? Fine. How about I teach all you so-called experts a lesson today? Boss Zheng instantly frowned. Xiang Guochang, aren't you getting a little too full of yourself? But then he sighed helplessly. Though if you insist on embarrassing yourself, I won't stop you. Xiang Guochang immediately snorted coldly. What a joke. We still don't know who's going to embarrass themselves. Then he pointed directly at the decree and said confidently, Listen carefully. The contents of this Imperial Decree are complete nonsense. During the Kangxi era, there was no such person as Wei Dongting. That's a fictional character from novels. And there was no official position called Taiping Branch either. Back then, the system was called 1 assistant and 3 branches. Hearing that, even I had to admit the guy knew a little. I smiled lightly and said, Not bad. Looks like you're not completely all talk after all, though your eyesight is still lacking. Xiang Guochang narrowed his eyes immediately. Judging from your tone, don't tell me you already knew this Imperial Decree was fake. I shrugged calmly. Of course. Did you really think I was some clueless amateur? The entire room instantly fell silent. Xiang Guochang stared at me in disbelief. What do you mean? You knew it was fake, yet you still spent 10,000 buying it and even agreed to compete with me. I laughed softly. Of course, the decree itself is fake. If it were real, do you seriously think the stall owner would have sold it to me for 10,000? You're underestimating him way too much. Xiang Guochang frowned deeply. Then what exactly are you trying to do here? I smiled calmly. What? Don't tell me you're already trying to surrender? If you want to surrender, hurry up and prepare the 1 million. The people nearby immediately exploded into confusion. Wait, seriously? Brother, did you actually lose? No way. If you already knew it was fake, why would you still compete with him? Elder Guo slowly nodded at this moment and said seriously, "That's right. The contents of this decree are indeed fabricated." Xiang Guochang instantly burst into laughter. Then I calmly explained, Qing Dynasty Imperial Decree shafts were divided into 3 levels. The highest grade was jade shafts, followed by black rhinoceros horn shafts, while the lowest and most common were black ox horn shafts. Elder Guo's eyes immediately widened as he turned toward me. "Boss, yeah. Are you saying this one is actually black rhinoceros horn?" I nodded. "That's right. This should originally be a blank imperial decree from the Kangxi era, and the shaft was made using the extremely precious black rhinoceros horn. As for why nobody recognized it all these years, it was probably because the horn was never dyed. At first glance, it looks very similar to ordinary black ox horn, so everyone overlooked it." Elder Guo immediately leaned closer to inspect it again, and after a few moments, his breathing became heavier. "That's right. This really is black rhinoceros horn." Then he looked at me with obvious admiration. "Young man, your eyesight is incredible." Someone nearby quickly asked, "Then, Elder Guo, how much is a black rhinoceros horn imperial decree worth?" Elder Guo took a deep breath and answered seriously, "Whether it's the material or the craftsmanship, Qing Dynasty black rhinoceros horn decrees are considered top-tier antiques. As for the value..." He paused slightly before saying firmly, "Without exaggeration, this thing is absolutely worth over 10 million. The entire room exploded instantly. "Holy crap! Xiang Guochang, did you hear that? This fake decree is actually worth over 10 million. This brother Ye really has insane eyesight." Xiang Guochang's face instantly turned pale. "Impossible. How can a fake decree be worth over 10 million? Someone beside him immediately laughed loudly. "Xiang Guochang, you really hit the jackpot this time. One decree is worth 10 million, and your bet was 10 times the value. That's one small goal gone instantly. Just thinking about it hurts." At that exact moment, another voice suddenly entered my head. "Boss, do you still need a lucky pendant? Hurry up and take me home. If you don't, you'll regret it." I froze and looked around until my eyes landed on a plain stone pedestal sitting nearby. Wait, isn't that just an ordinary stone block you can find everywhere on the street? Why is it telling me to buy it? And why would I regret not buying it? Before I could think further, Boss Jung smiled at me again. "Boss, yeah, if you find good items in the future, remember our treasure pavilion." I nodded casually. "Sure." Just then, loud arguing suddenly came from outside. "Stop pushing me. This really is a treasure. Why won't your treasure pavilion even test it properly?" Curious, I walked over and saw a middle-aged man desperately holding onto a heavy stone pedestal. Boss Jang sighed helplessly and explained to me, "This man has been hanging around our shop for days carrying that stone block around. He keeps insisting it's his family heirloom and wants to sell it to Treasure Pavilion. We already had several experts examine it, but nobody found anything special about it." Someone nearby added speechlessly, "And he's asking for 3 million. I narrowed my eyes slightly. He's persisted for this many days without giving up. Maybe this stone really does have something unusual about it." Boss Jung shook his head firmly. "Treasure Pavilion won't accept items we can't confirm." The man carrying the stone suddenly noticed me and hurried over. "Are you from Treasure Pavilion? I have a stone here that's genuinely valuable." I waved my hand. "No, I'm not from Treasure Pavilion. I'm just someone who came to the antique street looking for hidden treasures. But if you really think you've got something good, I can take a look." The man hesitated briefly before nodding. "Fine. Then take a look." The moment I approached the stone, that familiar voice instantly entered my mind again. "Kid, hurry up and buy me. If you don't, you'll definitely regret it." I frowned slightly inside. This stone pedestal keeps insisting I buy it, or I'll regret it. What exactly does that mean? Don't tell me there's really treasure hidden inside? I quietly asked the stone in my head, "What's so special about you? Why would I regret not buying you?" The stone immediately replied mysteriously, "Heavenly secrets cannot be revealed. Just trust me." Before I could continue thinking, the people around me immediately started trying to stop me. "Kid, don't get scammed. It's obviously just a stone block. You can't seriously lack that much eyesight, right?" Another person quickly added, "Exactly. Multiple experts already checked it. It's just an ordinary stone pedestal. Yet he still dares ask for millions. Don't fall for it." The man holding the stone immediately became anxious. "Boss, don't listen to them. This thing is definitely special. Please look carefully again." I stared at the stone quietly for a moment before saying calmly, "All right, then I'll take another look." Someone nearby laughed mockingly. "Boss, what's there to study about a stone pedestal? Don't tell me you think there's treasure hidden inside. Experts already examined it countless times. If there was really something valuable, Treasure Pavilion would have bought it long ago." I ignored them and instead looked directly at the man. "Where did this stone come from?" The man answered immediately, "It's a family heirloom." I raised an eyebrow slightly. A family heirloom? Really? If it's truly a family heirloom, why are you selling it? The man's expression instantly darkened. It's true. My father got seriously sick and is hospitalized right now. We urgently need money. Otherwise, I would never sell it. Then he looked at me almost pleadingly. Boss, I'm not lying. This really is our family heirloom. It's definitely something good. I stayed silent for a moment before asking, "How much do you want for it?" The man gritted his teeth and answered firmly, 3 million minimum. I can't go any lower. I glanced at the stone again, remembering its words. If you don't buy me, you'll regret it. After a few seconds, I finally nodded inside. Fine. The stone itself already warned me I'd regret missing it. I'll buy it first and study it later. Then I looked at the man and said calmly, "Deal. 3 million." The surrounding crowd instantly exploded again. Holy crap. A stone pedestal sold for 3 million? Why do I never run into this kind of luck? Another person immediately shouted jokingly, "What are we still standing around here for? I'm taking tomorrow off to carry stones to the antique street too. Maybe some idiot like this will buy mine as well." I simply smiled faintly and said, "Tomorrow, you'll all understand why this stone is worth 3 million. The next morning, I was still sleeping when my phone suddenly rang. Half awake, I answered lazily, "Old Zhao, why are you calling this early?" Old Zhao's excited voice immediately exploded through the phone. "Brother, yeah, you're still sleeping. Don't you know you've already become famous online? Hurry and check Douyin. You've gone viral." I sat up instantly. "What? I went viral?" Soon after, Old Zhao looked at me seriously and asked, "Brother, yeah, why did you spend 3 million on a stone pedestal like that? Does it actually have something special about it?" I calmly nodded. I did buy it. As for what's special, we'll only know after proper testing. Let's wait until Treasure Pavilion opens. Not long after, I arrived outside Treasure Pavilion and looked around in surprise. Did everyone seriously come this early? The moment I arrived outside Treasure Pavilion, Old Zhao immediately grinned and said, "Brother, yeah, you're a celebrity now. Your influence is huge." I quickly waved my hand helplessly. "Old Zhao, don't say nonsense like that. Everyone here is a big shot." Meanwhile, Boss Jung stood nearby with a complicated expression on his face. Damn. Our Treasure Pavilion already invited experts to inspect that stone pedestal multiple times, and nobody found anything special. Yet this kid still spent 3 million buying it. Did I really miss something? The moment he saw me, he quickly walked over. "Boss, yeah, you seriously spent 3 million on that stone pedestal yesterday?" I nodded casually. "Yeah, didn't your security guards tell you?" Boss Jung suddenly understood something and smacked his forehead. No wonder those two brats both called in sick today asking for leave. Soon the crowd surrounding us became restless. "Boss, yeah, where's the 3 million stone pedestal? Hurry and show everyone already." Old Zhao also excitedly urged me, "Brother, yeah, hurry up and take it out." The moment the stone pedestal was placed in front of everyone, countless people immediately started discussing it. "This is the 3 million stone? It looks exactly the same as the ones sitting on the roadside." Someone nearby quickly said, "Boss Ye's eyesight has always been incredible." Don't tell me Boss Jung actually missed treasure this time? Boss Jung sighed helplessly. Whether I missed something or not depends on the expert's appraisal. Not long after, two experts carefully inspected the stone pedestal for a long time before finally shaking their heads. "Xiao Ye, to be honest, after examining it this carefully, we still can't see any difference between this and an ordinary roadside stone pedestal." Another expert nodded seriously. "Whether it's the material or the craftsmanship, this is just a completely ordinary stone block." Then he looked at me sympathetically. "Xiao Ye, forgive my bluntness, but your 3 million was probably wasted." The surrounding crowd instantly burst into ridicule. "Looks like another fake internet celebrity." The internet made such a huge fuss about this. I thought there'd actually be something interesting. These days, people can even hype up stone blocks. I ignored all of them and calmly turned toward Old Zhao. "Old Zhao, did you bring the tools?" He instantly grinned. "Of course." Then his eyes widened slightly. "Brother, yeah, are you planning to cut the stone open?" I nodded directly. "That's right. Can you handle it?" Old Zhao immediately straightened his back proudly. "What do you mean, can I handle it? A man can never say he can't." Then he patted his chest confidently. "I, Old Zhao, have professionally cut stones for 20 years. Leave it to me." I smiled lightly. "Fine, just cut slowly." The crowd immediately became even more confused. "Wait, is there something inside the stone?" Another person laughed in disbelief. Why are they suddenly cutting stones now? Did I walk into the wrong set? Someone else mocked loudly. This has to be staged. Don't tell me a stone pedestal can actually produce flowers when cut open. Another person frowned in confusion. What kind of operation is this? Stone cutting? But this isn't even jade ore. Boss Jung also looked at me strangely. Boss, yeah. What exactly are you? I calmly interrupted him. Boss Jing, you'll understand soon enough. Since so many experts failed to discover anything special about this stone, then its uniqueness clearly isn't on the surface. There's something hidden inside. Then I narrowed my eyes slightly and added, as for what it is, we'll only know after cutting it open. The moment old Zhao's cutting machine sliced into the stone, his hands suddenly started trembling violently. Yeah, brother, yeah. There's really something inside. The entire crowd instantly surged forward in shock. Holy crap. What am I looking at? Is that an Imperial Jade seal? Someone else shouted in disbelief. How could a jade seal possibly be hidden inside a stone pedestal? This makes no sense. Boss Jung's entire face turned pale from regret. My god, there was actually a jade seal hidden inside the stone pedestal. Who could have imagined this? What's worse is that I rejected this treasure over and over again with my own hands. Even I was genuinely surprised seeing the jade seal emerge from inside the stone. I really didn't expect a jade seal to be hidden in there. I wonder which emperor it belonged to. Then I immediately turned toward the experts. Looks like I'll have to trouble you two again to verify whether it's authentic. Both experts quickly nodded seriously. No problem. Meanwhile, old Zhao stared at me like he was looking at a monster. Boss, yeah. Did you already know there was something hidden inside the stone from the beginning? I laughed helplessly inside. How could I possibly have that kind of ability? The stone itself just kept saying I'd regret it if I didn't buy it. But of course, I couldn't actually say that out loud, so I casually explained, the seller insisted it was a family heirloom, so I thought maybe there really was something hidden inside and decided to take a gamble. After a long examination, the two experts finally stood up with serious expressions. I immediately asked, well, any results? One of the experts slowly nodded. We've confirmed it. This jade seal is authentic. The entire room instantly fell silent again as he continued. This is the white jade flood dragon Mingji Hall seal from the Qianlong era of the Qing dynasty. Someone nearby gasped loudly. Wait, did you say Imperial Jade Seal? The kind that represents supreme imperial authority? The expert shook his head immediately. Not exactly. This particular Jade Seal was specially commissioned by Emperor Qianlong to commemorate the deep bond between him and his grandfather Kangxi. One of the experts carefully held the Jade Seal in both hands and said emotionally, according to historical records, this Jade Seal was already considered lost. Nobody expected it to appear here of all places. And even more unbelievable, it ended up in Xiao Ye's hands. Boss Zheng stood there completely frozen. A real jade seal? And from Qianlong himself? He grabbed his head in pain. My god, I rejected Qianlong's jade seal multiple times with my own hands. Someone nearby immediately burst into laughter. Old Zheng, you finally got your turn too. Seeing that depressed expression on your face feels amazing. Elder Guo gently stroked the jade seal and sighed. Even if this is only a ceremonial jade seal rather than an imperial authority seal, its value is still unimaginable. Then he continued seriously, I remember a similar Qianlong white jade flood dragon seal being auctioned before for 120 million. But that was years ago, and this one is even rarer and more precious. So conservatively speaking, this seal is worth at least 150 million. The crowd instantly exploded again. How much did you say? 150 million? This guy's luck is insane. A broken stone pedestal actually contains something worth 150 million? Another person immediately corrected him excitedly. Nonsense. This is a national treasure jade seal, and the expert said it's worth more than 150 million, not only 150 million. Someone else suddenly shouted, roadside stone pedestal, right? I've got one downstairs at home too. I'm going back to cut it open immediately. At that moment, an elderly man from the museum suddenly stepped forward and looked at me seriously. Xiao Ye, are you willing to sell this jade seal? Our museum would like to acquire it. I hesitated slightly. Sell it? But Director Gu, this price... Before I could finish, the old man smiled warmly. Relax, Xiao Ye. I won't let you suffer a loss. How about 150 million? I instantly calculated things inside my head. If this jade seal goes to auction, it would probably sell for no less than 200 million. But now I can immediately get 150 million without waiting. Technically, I'm still profiting massively. I immediately nodded. Deal. Director Gu laughed happily. Straightforward. I'll transfer the money right now. Old Zhao stared at me with shining eyes. Brother, yeah. You're unbelievable. A 3 million stone turned into a 150 million jade seal. When are you going to take me along to find some huge hidden treasures too? I glanced at the time and smiled lightly. It's still early. Let's go right now. Not long after, while wandering around another market, a strange voice suddenly entered my mind again. What's going on with this book? I froze slightly and looked down at the ordinary modern book in front of me. The voice continued in confusion. Clearly I was published in modern times, yet I'm somehow worth over 100 million. Even I don't understand it. My eyes instantly narrowed. A modern book worth over 100 million? This is the first time I've ever encountered something like this. I immediately made a decision inside. Forget it. I'll buy it first and study it later. Then I looked at the stall owner. Boss, how much for this book? The owner casually replied, 30 yuan each. I nodded immediately. All right, I'll take it. Old Zhao instantly looked confused. Brother, yeah. Weren't we supposed to come treasure hunting? Why'd you suddenly buy a random book? Don't tell me it's some out-of-print edition? Someone nearby immediately laughed mockingly. Out of print, my ass. That thing costs 10 yuan in bookstores. If you want, I can bring you an entire truckload. But Old Zhao still looked suspicious. No, something feels wrong. Brother, yeah. Did you spot another hidden treasure? This book definitely isn't simple. Boss Zheng also looked curious. Boss, yeah, stop keeping us in suspense already. Can't you let us learn something too? I shook my head helplessly. It's not that I don't want to explain. I honestly still don't understand either. This book was published in 2026. So why is it worth over 100 million? I flipped through the pages slowly while muttering to myself, this isn't even an antique. I seriously can't figure out where the value comes from. Then suddenly my eyes stopped on a strange page filled with numbers and letters. I frowned slightly. Don't tell me the secret is hidden inside the book? Boss Zheng immediately leaned over. Boss, yeah, what are you looking for? Is there treasure hidden inside the book or something? Old Zhao nodded confidently. There has to be. Otherwise Brother Ye wouldn't have bought it. Someone nearby still looked unconvinced. It's just a broken book. What treasure could possibly be hidden inside? I stared carefully at the strange strings of numbers and letters printed inside the pages. What do these numbers and letters mean? Then my heart suddenly skipped slightly. Wait, these combinations look strangely familiar. I feel like I've seen them somewhere before. Just then, a man nearby suddenly walked over and stared directly at the book in my hands. Little brother, I'm very interested in that book. Could you name a price and sell it to me? I immediately became alert inside. Strange, this guy was standing here the entire time earlier, yet he showed no interest in the book at all. Then I glanced again at the page filled with codes and numbers. But the moment I flipped to this page, he suddenly wanted to buy it. Looks like these numbers and letters really do hide some huge secret. I slowly looked up at him. You want to buy this book? The man nodded calmly. Yes, I really like the book in your hands. Then he asked directly, so, how much are you willing to sell it for? I smiled faintly and tested him. 10,000. The man immediately shook his head and forced out a smile. No. 100 million. You can take it. Then he quickly realized how ridiculous he sounded and awkwardly corrected himself. Little brother, you must be joking, right? Have you ever seen someone spend 100 million on a single book? I smiled calmly and replied, then have you ever seen someone offer 10,000 for a 30 yuan book? I slowly raised the book in my hand and added, besides, the book itself already said it's worth over 100 million. The man's expression instantly became serious. How about this then? 1 million. If you agree, I'll transfer the money immediately. The people around us instantly exploded. Holy crap, little brother. You really found treasure this time. Why are you still hesitating? Hurry up and sell it. But old Zhao suddenly frowned beside me. Brother, yeah. Why do I feel like this guy is trying to steal our hidden treasure instead? Then he stared suspiciously at the book. For him to offer 1 million for a random book, there's definitely something wrong. Boss Zheng also nodded slowly. Honestly, for the first time ever, I think old Zhao actually makes sense. But I still can't see what's special about this book. I looked directly at the man and smiled faintly. I'm guessing what you really want isn't the book itself, but the strings of letters and numbers printed inside it, right? The man's pupils instantly shrank slightly. Inside, he was clearly panicking. Damn it, was I too obvious earlier? Looks like now I can only try to make him flip to the later pages somehow. No matter what, I absolutely have to get this book today. But outwardly, he still forced a calm smile. Little brother, you're overthinking things. I genuinely just like this book. Then he casually added, how about you flip through the later pages for me first? I want to confirm whether this is the version I'm looking for. But before I could even react, the book itself suddenly shouted inside my head, Kid, don't listen to him. If he sees the later pages, my value of over 100 million instantly disappears. I immediately sneered inwardly. Heh, don't think I don't know what you're planning. You just want to see those numbers and letters, don't you? The man quickly waved his hands innocently. Little brother, you really misunderstood me. If you don't believe me, check whether the later pages also contain similar numbers and letters. Curious, I slowly flipped further through the book, and sure enough, another strange string of letters and numbers appeared. The man's breathing instantly became slightly heavier. Little brother, read it out loud. I can help you decipher it. I almost laughed out loud hearing that. Seriously? Does this guy think I'm stupid? Even if he doesn't explain it, I already know what he's trying to do. And he seriously thinks he can pick up hidden treasure from me? He should go back and gain more experience first. At that moment, everything suddenly clicked inside my head. These are Bitcoin public keys. My eyes narrowed slightly as I quickly remembered where I had seen similar strings before. I already checked earlier using the public key. There are exactly 188 Bitcoins stored inside. My heartbeat instantly sped up. As long as I can confirm the later string is the private key password and secure this book, then I'll instantly obtain over 100 million. The man looked at me seriously and said, "Little brother, just name a price. I'll do my best to satisfy you." But before I could answer, old Zhao suddenly stepped forward excitedly. "Brother, yeah, don't listen to him. The strings inside this book are Bitcoin public keys. I just checked too. There are 188 Bitcoins sitting inside." The crowd instantly became restless again. I calmly looked at the man and shook my head. "Sorry, but I'm not planning to sell this book for now." The man immediately raised the price again. "Little brother, the book itself is useless to you. 3 million, how about it? I know you came here specifically to find hidden treasures. The only reason you refuse to sell is because the price isn't high enough." Then he added seriously, "Don't worry. You can quote any price." I could already tell from his expression that he knew exactly what those strings meant. A few seconds later, he finally sighed and admitted directly, "Looks like you already understand what those characters represent, right? Fine then. There's no point hiding it anymore." He pointed toward the strings inside the book and explained, "Those characters are Bitcoin public key addresses. You probably don't understand Bitcoin very well, little brother, so let me explain briefly." I pretended to think for a moment before nodding. "You're right. I really don't know much about it. Go ahead." The man immediately explained, "Bitcoin uses both public keys and private keys. The string you saw inside the book is the public key. With a public key, anyone can log in and check the account information, including transaction records and the amount of Bitcoin stored inside." I narrowed my eyes slightly. "So, according to what you're saying, you already checked the information tied to this public key?" He nodded honestly. "I did. There are 188 Bitcoins inside, and today each Bitcoin is worth over 70,000 US dollars. The crowd instantly gasped, but the man quickly continued, "However, that's only the information visible through the public key. To actually access the Bitcoins, you still need the private key. Without the private key, you can see the account, but you can never obtain the assets." Then he pointed toward the book again. "Right now, your book only contains the public key. Whether the private key exists at all is still unknown." I immediately understood what he meant. "So you're buying a possibility?" The man nodded directly. "Exactly." Then I casually replied, "Oh, but I already know." His expression changed instantly. "You know?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, there's another page later in the book with another string of characters." The man's heartbeat visibly quickened, but before he could react, someone nearby suddenly questioned me. "Wait, little brother, even if there's another string later in the book, how can you be sure it's the private key? It could just be another public key. Unless you actually log in, you'll never know." I slowly nodded. "That actually makes sense." The man immediately saw an opening and hurriedly shouted, 10 million. "But only right now, and only before you verify whether that later string is truly the private key." Then he looked at me seriously. "Little brother, if you agree, we can complete the transaction immediately." The crowd around us instantly went crazy again. If it were me, I'd definitely sell. That's 10 million. Exactly. Who knows whether the later string is even a private key? What if it's just another public key? Another person quickly argued, "It has to be the private key. Do you think this guy would offer 10 million if he wasn't confident?" Someone else shouted, "Who cares if it's real or not? He's offering 10 million. If it were me, I'd sell for 1 million. Even I had to admit inside, honestly, 10 million really is tempting. If I didn't already know the book's true value, I probably would have sold it too. But after thinking for a few seconds, I smiled calmly. 10 million is definitely attractive. But since we came here to hunt for hidden treasures, I'm willing to gamble once more. Then I looked around at the curious crowd and said, "Since all of you are this curious, I'll just log into the account publicly and show everyone." The surroundings instantly became completely silent. A few moments later, old Zhao nervously leaned over and asked, "Boss, yeah, well, is it really the private key? Were you able to log in?" Boss Jung also looked anxious. Yeah, brother, yeah. Hurry up and tell us already. I slowly raised my head and grinned. I logged in successfully. Then I calmly added, there really are 188 bitcoins inside. The crowd exploded louder than ever before. Old Zhao looked at me with complete admiration. Boss, yeah, you're seriously insane. In that situation, if it were me, I definitely would have sold for 10 million already. Someone nearby sighed emotionally. Today really broadened my horizons. A 30 yuan book turned into over 100 million. The bookstore owner would probably cry blood if he found out. The man who originally wanted to buy the book still refused to give up and asked carefully, little brother, are you sure you have no plans to sell? I smiled faintly and shook my head. Sorry, I'm not considering selling it for now.